For this series of labs, we're going to actually build pretty much a full-scale level, pretty much from scratch. So this is usually the first lab in the advanced course, and so it's a great sort of welcome back. Here's what you probably forgot over the break, hopefully not, and we're going to build, hopefully this is exactly where we left off in the beginning Unity class. It's usually about where we land. And you may remember it if we ended up where I think we usually end up is right around, we've just learned Mecanum. We have just started to learn about Unity's AI features, artificial intelligence features. And so we did a little bit with NavMesh. So we're going to pick up there and do a project with lots of good NavMesh in it, some characters, some Mecanum, and really just sort of a welcome back, and let's see how much you remember. So I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to make it a 3D project, and I'm going to call this Dungeon Crawler. So we'll make this sort of classic dungeon crawler game, and I need to find a place for it. I don't want it to be there. That's another project. You can put it on, something like a OneDrive or a Google Drive. I'm just gonna put this, I think, in my home directory, and I'll make a new folder. And then inside of Richland, I'll make another folder called Advanced Unity. And I think I'll make one more just for this game. And that sounds good. And of course, I'm doing this on a Mac. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you're doing this on a Mac or a PC, it's going to be the same result. And I'll click Create Project, and it will go ahead and create that for me. And here we go. Here's our basic Unity setup. By the way, I'm using the Community Edition, not the Professional Edition, so it looks a little different than it does in the labs, because I think the labs use the dark UI scheme, and this is the light one. So I'll just be doing everything, pretty much everything in Community. I don't think there's too much that I need that's in the Professional Edition for our course. Maybe we'll do some more advanced things with shaders later on, like really, really towards the end of the course, that might need the Professional Edition, but I'm going to try to keep it in Community as much as possible, because I realize my advanced students like to work on their own machines, and I'm assuming most of you don't have the Professional Edition since it's a little on the expensive side. And I know what you're thinking, and I don't advocate that at all. Shame on you. If you didn't get what I was talking about, good for you. All right, so what I'm going to build is I'm just going to sort of set this up as a really sort of a simple starting point. And I'm going to make a maze, more or less. So I'm going to start adding some cubes in here. And I must confess that I have gotten used to working on the PC, so I may stumble over my menu items a little bit as I get reacquainted with my lovely Mac here at the house. And we'll make this big enough to where you probably won't be able to see the whole thing with a camera that might be hovering over it, so that's pretty good. And where are we? We're at 40 by 40. We'll call it 45 by 45, just so that we're even. And then the height doesn't really matter as long as it's something, right? So we'll make it 0.5 just so that we have nice, clean numbers. All right, now we just need to make a maze. So I don't really probably need to narrate this. So I'm just going to work through this part, and I guess you can kind of watch this on fast forward if you'd like, but I'm just going to put a basic maze system together using cubes. Okay, there's my outer wall. I'll just Control D or Command D to duplicate it. And since it's a square, I ought to be able to do this 4 times to get my outer edges. And in the interest of time, I won't try to make everything absolutely perfect. That's just taking up probably more time than we need to. So we've got the outer edge. So let me make a few interior walls. And that's a pretty simple maze. It might be a little too simple, but that's a good enough starting point. So I'll go ahead and save my scene. I haven't done that yet. So let's go ahead and save our scene, and I'll just call this main. And we'll just go ahead and do our usual getting organized. So I'll make a folder for scenes. I'll drop the scene inside it. And now from here, I'm just going to go out and find some pretty simple textures that I'm going to drop on here. So for that, I am just going to go to the internet. And of course, in the real world, you would worry about licensing and things like that. But for this exercise, I'm just going to grab a texture without worrying too much about it. We're not going to publish this game, so it's all right to use whatever you want to find on the web. I won't count it against you. All right, I just need to save this. I'll put it on the out. That's not what I want. Go to the site and get it. That's better. And I'll just put it on the desktop for now. Hopefully I didn't check to see if that's tileable, but we'll find out here in a minute if it is. And I'm going to move this off onto another screen. It'll be a little easier for me to do it this way, to just drag it in. Actually, let's just do this. Let's take this out of full screen mode, and it'll be a little less confusing, especially for those of you that aren't used to Mac. All right, so we downloaded it. It's tileable bricks. I'm just going to drag that. Oops, I missed. And drop it into my assets folder. And I'll drag it and drop it on there. And we'll fiddle around with the scaling a little bit and see how it looks. It's the wrong one, isn't it? There we go. So we'll try it. Put this back to what it was. Try 2x2 looks okay. 3x3. It really just kind of depends, I guess, on the scale of the characters that are going to be in here. This is, again, is a fairly small maze. I may actually make this larger later. But that's okay. All right, and then I would probably want to do something with the walls as well. But I will leave that to your imagination for now. So this is a pretty basic setup for our maze. And this will be the starting point for the rest of what we're going to build in this section.